Hello there, everyone. Welcome to GamePoints episode 262. Your weekly little get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brown. Joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, the Epic versus Apple trial finally begins. Discord teams up with Sony, surprisingly, and Nintendo is somehow anti-Yakuza. What the fuck, Nintendo? But first, I want everyone here to know that this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at Twitch TV/GamePoints, or later over at YouTube.com/GamePointsPC, to feel free to join in the conversation. If any questions, comments, concerns you might have, etc., just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. David.
Yes.
That Valheim's still going strong for you, isn't it?
Dude, it is.
So what I know it patched recently.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What did they add to it? I hear talks of a strange blue dude.
I think the strange blue dude was already there. Sometimes when it's dark or if it's raining and storming, you kind of see, death in the distance. Just
Okay.
a dude with a scythe and a cloak on, just looking at you. If you get too close, he disappears.
Okay, so you can't interact with him yet. He's just there to be spooky as hell.
Yeah, he's just there to be spooky.
I appreciate that.
They did some texture
legitimately
changes. They
appreciate
did some patches, some balances, all kinds of fun stuff.
All right. I have been playing through Yakuza. I finally started that franchise again, Yakuza 0. Way more porn stars in it than I thought there would be. Shocked at the amount of porn in that game. Not like actual porn, but like a lot of the tertiary and secondary characters are straight up just Japanese porn stars.
Cool.
And the reason why I found this out is because during stream, there's these cards you can pick up with people on them. And I was like, wait, that's the name of some NPC I saw earlier. But it has like a real person on there. So I was like, okay, this has to be someone famous, right? So while on stream, I decided to look this person up.
How'd that go?
So you could see where hilarity ensues. But as far as games that I've been playing, not only the Yakuza series I'm finally breaking through, but I played a game yesterday that came out last week into early access called War Pips. Now, before I get into it, this game was provided, the code was provided for free, so just open disclosure right there. It's one of those push-pull tower defense games where you kind of send waves of troops at each other. So think a MOBA, but without any champions in it. So you have like one lane and you're sending troops down.
What's that game? Castle Panic? No.
Like Castle Crashers? No, not Castle Crashers.
There was a castle game that was the same thing where you build guys and they march, and then they have a castle and they build guys and they march.
Surprisingly entertained by it. For something that feels like it should be a mobile game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had a mobile port of that. That game's surprisingly good so far, and it's still in early access, but that's what I've been doing.
That's exciting.
However, that's not why anyone shows up to this.
Yeah.
The people are here for the fight of the century right now. And that is Tim Apple versus Tim Epic. As the Epic versus Apple trial begins today officially. Now, don't worry. We are not going to bore you with legalese. In fact, we're not going to talk about the trial specifics at all. If you want to know about what the defense and the plaintiff and defendant has to do with the trial, I recommend turning to a legal scholar channel, something like Leonard French or Richard Hogue. They're both decent at breaking down video game trials. I'd say good at it, even.
If you want the news, you'll be better off hearing from us when the trial's actually concluded and we have something to say about it. It is, everything until there's like a verdict, it's just speculation.
Yeah, and I am not smart enough to be able to speculate at this, so I'm not even going to try. What I will do, however, and what you will do alongside me there, David, is we'll talk about all the random information leaks that have come out of this. I will say what's funny is that the judge straight up said, now I thought I put a gag order on all this, but somehow it's leaked. So if the genie's out of the bottle, there's no point in going back to it again. So a lot of the stuff that we're hearing was supposed to be stuff none of us were ever supposed to hear about, but that courtroom just has a ton of leaks in it.
Yeah, of course it's going to. It's a big deal.
And we got a few stories of various things that I want to mention real quick that I found just interesting. Some of it facts and numbers, some of it about profitability, some about deals that might have happened or might be happening later in the future. But let's go through a few of these. The first up is from Axios. This is where Stephen Totilo of Kotaku went to. Kotaku, not Tutaku.
Okay.
Sorry, his name's Totilo. It rhymes. But we have a couple figures out here. Like, for example, one, did you know that the exclusivity agreement between Gearbox and Epic Games over Borderlands 3 was $146 million?
No, I did not. Now, we knew, just based on what they were getting for the exclusive for the Epic Store, that they were spending hand over fist money to get all these exclusives. We just didn't actually know how much that was.
Yeah, that's for Borderlands 3 specifically, and that's probably one of the bigger titles you would imagine that they paid for.
Yep.
Epic made $14 billion in 2018. In 2019, $3.7 billion of that was from Fortnite. So roughly between a fourth and a fifth of the company's entire revenue, of Epic's entire stream, including all their engines that they make, all the games that they produce, all the store sales they have, between a quarter and 20% of it still comes from Fortnite.
Crazy.
And it's not coming from Epic Game Store, despite that being counted that number, because in 2019, Epic Game Store lost $232 million. Lost. Epic Game Store still does not turn a profit at all, because they're trying to establish themselves as a competitor. So spending a lot of money up front, hoping for returns down in the future.
Yep.
Overall, you know how Epic Game Store has that every Thursday there's like a game or two for free?
Yes.
In 2019, they spent $11.7 million on those games.
That's crazy.
That's insane how much Epic is just throwing into Epic Game Store to make this thing work. And it's not.
Still don't have a shopping cart.
No, no shopping cart yet.
Or wish list.
It's not going to be profitable until 2024, according to some reports. By the way, the reports I'm going to be using come from GamesIndustry.biz, Axios, The Verge, and they will all, of course, be linked down in the comments below, or down in the information below I said. So, hundreds of millions of dollars a year to sustain Epic Game Store, and it's not going to be profitable for at least another 3 or 4 years. That should give you an idea of how much money Fortnite brings into that company.
Yeah, exactly, because they can more than pay for the store just in Fortnite money, not including anything else.
Right. And
one Fortnite money alone could float the store for a decade.
Yeah. And one presentation, the reason why this lawsuit is, I think, so big for Epic right now is that one of the presentations given shows that if Fortnite was pulled from the iOS and Android, it would cost Epic $300 million in 2020 alone. That's not counting previous years or prior years. So $300 million a year, just if it was pulled from those two stores alone.
Interesting.
So I know it's a lot of facts and figures and boring stuff, but I found all that it's meant to give you an idea of what Epic has at stake with this lawsuit. It is not just a couple $10 million here. It is big, big bucks.
Yep.
One thing, though, that I found interesting was that during this mid-2020 presentation that was brought up during the lawsuit were some unannounced characters for Fortnite. Now, I don't know if these are still going to happen, or if these are still slated to happen, or if they were trying to get them to happen if a deal fell through. But there's some interesting stuff in here, like Katniss from the Hunger Games, Samus from Metroid, Nintendo's Metroid.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, John McClane from Die Hard.
Dude, that's a good get.
That is a great get. And that actually might get me to actually play Fortnite one day.
Now, they have to make sure, though, that if you use John McClane and you do a dance, that he sings a Bruno song.
Oh god, Bruno the Kid? There was like a cartoon, I think, based off of that character, by the way. I think it was called Bruno the Kid.
For those that don't know, yes, Bruce Willis once had a music career and released an album under an alias. And you can find it and listen to it. I don't recommend doing that, but you can.
Oh, no. Bruno the Kid was a syndicated cartoon series created by Bruce Willis. It ran from September 23rd, 1996 to May 26, 1997. Voiced by Bruce Willis. As an 11-year-old kid. I hate that I know that exists, by the way. I hate that I know that exists. But yes, he made a couple of albums, too, under like the name Bruno something. I think it could have just been called Bruno. Stuff in Twitch and chat says Steam equals McDonald's, Good Old Games equals Burger King, and the Epic Store equals Wendy's. I don't know what comparison you're supposed to be making here. Like, I kind of get what you're saying.
I don't agree with that though, because GOG is so much more bespoke than the other fast foods. I think GOG would be more like a In-N-Out burger in that comparison.
See, that just makes it worse though, because I hate In-N-Out.
They don't.
That's I kind of understand what you're going for there, Stuffy Twitchy, with those comparisons. The problem is McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's all kind of just rank identical to me, which I guess is actually an apt comparison then, because I see all these storefronts as being no better or worse than the other ones.
I think Steam's Taco Bell because they still have a value menu.
Annual sales comparisons. Okay. I don't know what those.
Okay, that makes sense. McDonald's makes tons of money. Burger King makes less money. Wendy's makes less money.
I guess I didn't think Go Games made less money than Epic Games Store, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know their annual game sales. But anyways, I think I'm digging way too deep in this analogy. Way too deep.
That's fair.
There was another bit of information that actually didn't have to do with Epic at all or Apple at all that I found fascinating before we move on to this. And this is also going to start to deal with numbers. I know numbers suck when you're listening to it. They suck even more when you're looking at people talking about it and they're not having little charts. But I still found this very entertaining. Microsoft explored reducing its Xbox store cut to shake up console gaming. This is also via The Verge, just one of those articles as mentioned. Microsoft had been planning to cut its store cut to just 12%, according to the confidential documents filed in the Epic Games versus Apple case. If you remember, David, one of the fights between Epic and Steam was that Steam takes 30%. Epic's like, fuck that, we're going to only take 12%.
Yes.
The software maker details its storage fees and changes in a document from January, where it also lists a 12% cut to PC games it announced this week. So Microsoft did, a couple days ago, adjust their pay scale to be 12% to match what Epic is going on. Probably to get people to sign up for the Game Pass or the Microsoft Windows Store and all that good stuff.
The Windows Store can fuck right off, though, so I don't care.
I keep forgetting that's actually a thing.
The Windows Store is a garbage system, and I do not like the way it installs video games onto your hard drive.
What is fascinating about this, though, is that while this presentation shown at court said Microsoft was considering doing it on consoles as well, spokespeople from Microsoft openly came out and said, hey, we have no plans to change the revenue share for the console games at this time, later clarifying that they're not going to be updating the split for console publishers. So they went kind of wishy-washy to, no, this is not going to happen. So whatever this presentation was shown at in court, and it is an official Microsoft, you can see all the Microsoft logo. They have certain things redacted on it, so you can't see upcoming stuff. This was clearly being talked about at one time, and Microsoft backed off on the console thing. What I'm curious about, David, is will this story get enough traction to kind of force Microsoft's hand to doing the same thing to consoles? Because Microsoft has shown itself to be very amiable to customer demand, seems like a harsh term. But given their Xbox game, the Xbox Live thing where they increased the price for it and then that day backed off of it.
Yeah, they're listening. How's that?
Yeah, they're listening. So do you think that this might be one of those things that if it gets enough traction, Microsoft might change its tune on?
Yeah, it's very possible. If there was something, it was something they were exploring before. Also, to jump backwards a small bit, not to tangent too much, but there was actually one of the guys at Apple that was brought up, I think before the case started, it actually mentioned that Apple was debating lowering their store fee however long ago.
Oh, I missed that. I didn't see that.
And then just didn't.
Okay.
So there's been all kinds of crazy stuff to come out of that case, besides the actual thing the case is about. I'm not sure if you also saw the release that was talking about what Sony wanted for their part in crossplay to happen.
Yes, something about like extra multiplayer fees or some shit like that.
Yeah, like extra fees or like an actual like some kind of retribution if they lost sales figures because of crossplay. Which how would you prove that? Like what?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I read and I kind of just dismissed because it sounded so fake to me. But as the day went on, more and more people were talking about this, and I just did not want to add that on top of all this because, one, I couldn't really necessarily, like, I didn't see the document. I saw all these documents. I couldn't see that document. And two, I was just out of time to prepare the show.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we brought it up.
So, yeah, I have heard about that. I don't know the details on it, but that sounds like fucking Sony to me. I wouldn't be surprised.
Speaking of Sony, we actually have another Sony story, and this one is actually from Sony Interactive Entertainment themselves, from head honcho Jim Ryan. they announced they are partnering with Discord. In his press release, we are excited to announce a new partnership with Discord, the communication service popularized by gamers and used by more than 140 million people every month around the world. Together, our teams are already hard at work connecting Discord with your social and gaming experience on PlayStation Network. Our goal is to bring the Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobile starting early next year, allowing friends, groups, and communities to hang out, have fun, and communicate more easily while playing games together. To bring these experiences to life for our players, Sony Interactive Entertainment has made a minority investment as part of Discord's Series H round. So, the big thing that I want to say up front, no, Sony did not buy Discord. That is
Correct.
not what this is. We just talked about a few weeks ago about the Microsoft purchase of Discord not going through. This is not a Sony purchase of Discord. This is a completely separate thing where Sony has made a minor investment into Discord in a regular funding round to basically encourage cooperation. So
correct. Discord is still staying independent from what we can tell.
It is just like a partnership, which is a pretty damn cool partnership if you ask me, because native Discord integration on consoles is something I desperately want.
Yes, I have. I am tired of in-game voice communications. Just use Discord.
Yeah,
or
incorporate Discord. I love the idea of being able to chat with friends on Discord, like with Discord built into the PlayStation, and also playing games online and not having to listen to the game audio. And then if I go out to the main menu, it doesn't work or it works or whatever.
Right. I would expect the same thing to happen with Microsoft, by the way. I don't see anything on here that says this is going to be an exclusive to PlayStation. Mm-hmm. I would expect Microsoft to be like, hey, we're going to build our games to incorporate Discord as well. Because while as PlayStation has some of that bitterness behind them and some of that fuck you too attitude that they have with Nintendo and sometimes with Microsoft seems to be, I get that they're a business and they're going to make business decisions, but they seem to be more like, hey, if it gets more asses and seats playing Xbox, we don't care who we work with.
Yeah. Now, the only counter to that I would say is that, in my opinion, Sony has kind of always had the more inferior online ecosystem compared to Microsoft, just because
I agree.
For the longest time you paid for it and it was a paid service, so they worked to make it, worth paying for it. So the voice chat works more consistently. The way the parties work, the way you can jump into games together, it's gotten better with PlayStation, but I think Microsoft's just been doing it longer. But that means they kind of already have their own system in place that more or less works. So I don't know how much they would jump on Discord right away. That'd be the only thing I could think that would give them hesitation, is they want you to use Xbox Live party chat, but I don't know why. I don't know.
Well, what we're seeing is an overall branching away from all these companies trying to create things in-house for the most part. Remember when we had EA creating Origin and Ubisoft making WePlay, and everyone wanted their own in-house shit. Mm-hmm. They were segregating the markets because they all wanted the Apple walled garden.
Yeah. And they all wanted their 30% cut.
Yeah. What we're seeing now is more and those walls get torn down as crossplay starts becoming just the standard norm now. As all these other stores like Origin, for example, going, screw it, we're just going to put our stuff on Steam or Epic Games or whatever it is. You're starting to see, Epic Games Store is coming up, sure, but a lot of these attempts at trying to wall off their content behind their own stuff is getting torn down. And Discord's one of those things, too.
Yep.
So,
also, you mentioned Origin and Steam. Shout out to Titanfall 2 being on Steam.
It was free. It was free over this weekend. It's not free anymore. So if you missed it, buy it anyways. Apparently, it's really good. I've been sitting on that game for a while, and I have yet to play it yet.
Dude, you're the guy that plays shooters for the single player campaign, and it's one of the better ones we've had in the last 5 years.
I know. I need to actually sit down and finish up one day.
It's not even that long.
Yeah, I hear it's 4 or 5 hours, if that. Stuff Twitch in chat says Microsoft should take the money they ruminated spending on Discord and stack it on top of the mound of cash for Gabe Newell, a former Microsoft himself. May consider selling to fund. Hold on, let me start over again. The it's written a little weird. Microsoft should take the money they ruminate spending on Discord and stack it on top a mound of cash to Gabe Newell, a former Microsoftee himself, so he may consider selling it to fund his future island nation investment. Then Microsoft can finally junk their pathetic store and swap a Microsoft-branded Steam client in its place. The consumer backlash over the idea of Microsoft buying Steam would prevent any sort of deal like that going through. Additionally, Steam prints money for Gabe Newell, because I think he owns it lock, stock, and barrel, because it is not a publicly traded company.
I think that's why he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah, every single dollar just goes to him. I could be wrong on that, but I think Gabe Newell 100% owns all of Steam.
Yeah, I also think that he's their only customer service rep, and he only does it like 1 hour a week.
That's also potentially true. David?
Yes?
There's some news coming out of the fighting game community right now. Now, this is a community that I know nothing about, so I'm going to let you take this over. But apparently there's a big kerfluffle between WePlay and Netherrealm and some other stuff going on. Why don't you take this bag of snakes and lay it out for me?
Okay, so this happened over the last week. The first thing that kind of happened is NetherRealm put up a tweet saying that they were no longer going to be partnering with WePlay, which is a company that was hosting a lot of esports events.
Okay.
WePlay's done a bunch of stuff for a bunch of different people, so it's not just limited to video games. They work in all kinds of things, and they host events. That's one of the things. So NetherRealm said they weren't going to work with these guys anymore. Bandai Namco said they weren't going to work with these guys anymore, which made a lot of fans upset because WePlay put on more tournaments than either of those companies actually did themselves. So it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot, because otherwise, where do we get the fighting game tournaments? But this all comes on the heel of a recent public partnership that WePlay has with a company called 1xBet.
What is 1xBet?
1xBet is a Russian-based online gambling service.
Okay, hold on. I just need to make sure I have this straight in my head.
Yes.
A company that hosts tournaments.
Yes.
That you could bet on.
Yes.
Formed a partnership with a gambling website.
Yes, you are correct, sir.
Continue. I just wanted to make sure I had that right, because that's...
You might be starting to pull the leash that leads to this decision.
That's one of those things that you hear, and you just like pause, because you can't rationalize how that could be true, because it sounds so fucking stupid.
Yeah, like YouTubers selling gun skins on websites that they own.
Yeah, looking at you, T. Martin.
Oh, boy. Okay, so 1xBet had previously partnered with major companies, like including like football clubs in the UK. But
we're an American show, soccer clubs.
That's true. The company was suspended from operating in the United Kingdom after an investigation found that it had been facilitating gambling on children's sports, advertising on illegal streaming sites, and promoting a so-called Pornhub casino with topless dancers, all on its website.
Okay. I don't see what the problem is. If I'm WB, I clearly want to be associated with these people.
Okay, so here's the thing. 1xBet has not just been suspended from operation in UK. There is a very large and growing list of countries where it's not allowed, including the United States. And part of that, potentially, is that the three owners of the company are all wanted in Russia.
How fucking crooked do you have to be that you are wanted in Russia? Like even the Russian...
Okay, alleged, but allegedly all three of them fled to the Ukraine and then just turned the website back on and went right back to work. Because they were found for like illicit business practices. So they were wanted because there was a committee in Russia that they violated all these like rules and laws, and so yeah, these guys are in trouble and they fled the country.
That's fucking hilarious. I love
allegedly.
This. I love this. I'm glad I didn't know much about the story, because I'm having a blast hearing about it now.
Yeah, but so maybe you could see why two very public video game publishers maybe don't want their babies tied in with this kind of company. When, you know, fighting game tournaments being partnered with an illegal online gambling site maybe isn't a good look.
Yeah, that's a problem. When you're running child betting, backroom gambling, and borderline pornography. I could see why WB and Bandai Namco might be very reluctant to sign on to this. Have we heard anything further from this? Is WePlay still going on with this? Like, who's still doing business with WePlay?
So I think WePlay's had a follow-up, but it's basically not amounted to much. It's the normal, we make our decisions based on whatever buzzword is popular and hopefully gets us through this statement without you being too mad at us.
I'd be very curious to know how much alleged money has been dealt under the table to the people who run WePlay.
I mean, who knows? And it could be, maybe it was on the up and up, a partnership, and they just didn't do their due diligence. It's entirely possible.
It could be.
Companies, much like governments, can be run by completely incompetent people.
Sometimes people just do stupid shit, like host an AMA on 8chan, actually. Looking at you, THQ Nordic.
Oof.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Even I, who tend to be like a big proponent of the Wild West of the internet, saw that one and went, you should probably not do that.
Some big oof energy.
Yeah.
Anyway, the I guess very long, complicated story short, this still kind of sucks for fighting game fans because before WePlay still hosting fighting game tournaments for games that aren't getting enough love.
Furthermore, it's been a real rough time for fighting game guys to begin with because Nintendo's doing all their funky shit. Evo has gone through just horrible stuff over the past few years. The fighting game community itself has a very rough time of things lately, and this is just yet another problem in that entire ecosphere. And
of all the esports, fighting games still have like the smallest prize pools of anything. And there's people that have been playing fighting games professionally for 20 years.
Yeah, it's been around longer than any of them.
But they have full-time jobs because they can win a national tournament and go home with $3,000.
Yeah, congratulations. I get like a trip to Disneyland out of it. But hey, trip to Disneyland.
It's true.
David?
Yes.
I am sick and tired, however, of all of these fucking publishers enforcing morality upon us. Where does it get to the point where enough is enough and we could just look at something like Nintendo and go, you know what, Nintendo? No. I will associate with Yakuza if I want to. In a headline from IGN, Nintendo specifically bars Japanese partners from working with the Yakuza.
That is a great headline, and I don't need any further discussion.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to mention, by the way, the reason why we're talking about this now, this has been in place for years, but the reason why we're talking about is that this is yet another one of those stories that have come from the Tim Apple versus Tim Epic leak of all this random shit from the lawsuit. So this lawsuit has been gold for weird random stories.
For us to have stuff to talk about on a Tuesday.
Exactly. To the article itself. Nintendo has an official clause in its contracts that stipulates any Japanese developers or publishers it works with cannot be tied to organized crime groups such as the Yakuza. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not just for Yakuza, but also like the Contra Nostra or the Costa Nostra. Whatever the Italian mob is.
The regular mob, you could say that one too.
Who's like the Mexican drug cartel, the M32s?
You are asking me very strange questions that I don't even remotely know the answer to.
You can't be associated with any of them and work with Nintendo.
You can't hang out with Scarface.
Freaking Puritans at Nintendo. How dare they? Back to the article. Documents and details about the inner workings of the games industry are currently being revealed as part of the ongoing Epic Games versus Apple trial. A highly confidential and heavily redacted Nintendo document has been doing the rounds as a result. Within that document is a section on anti-social forces spotted by Stephen Totillo of Axios Gaming. Once again, that article will be posted down below too. The document notes that if a content provider is based in Japan... Oh, okay, never mind. I can associate with them if I'm in the US. It's only if I'm in Japan that I can't associate with Yakuza. It cannot be... Document notes that if a content provider is based in Japan, it cannot be an anti-social force or a Borokudan. Japanese term for means violence groups or organized crime groups. Effectively, the document imposes a black and white ban on partners working with the Yakuza. If a developer or publisher wishes to work for Nintendo, they are also not allowed to, quote, give monetary benefits to an antisocial force, use threat or violence in connection to transactions, or interfere with the business of Nintendo entities by spreading false rumors or using frauds or force, the document reads. David?
Yes.
as much as it seems obvious that a company won't apply you if you're working for like the mob, I wouldn't be surprised if very few companies have something like that in there. You know, I take that back. They're all covered in like the morality clauses.
I was actually, so when you were finishing that statement, I had the realization that every single game company in a certain country has something like this in their documentation. And it's China.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because the fact that it reads as an antisocial force could just mean a anti-governmental force.
Yeah. In this case, I think the term antisocial force is a weird translation.
That's very fair. But when you were talking about it, that's the first thing I thought of. Was like, oh man, there's probably shit like this where like game development there can't work with people who, you know.
Oh, that's absolutely true in China, by the way. That's if you say something wrong about China, they will just cut off your access to doing any business in China, which is why you have places like the NBA or Activision Blizzard or Nike bending over backwards to keep from offending their overlords.
Because, you know, big market is big market.
Yeah, you have your country has 1/6 the population of the earth in it. That's a huge market to shut off if you decide to say something like, you know, China puts Muslims in concentration camps and harvests their organs.
Oh, their leader looks like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. That too. But both those things I equally hate. China should be held equally accountable for both of these things.
Anyway, sorry for that random downer. That's where my mind went. I hang out with you too much, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's you make a good point there with the antisocial force. You're right. That is that. But in this case, I think that Boryokudan is a... they translate it as violence groups or organized crime groups. I think it can also be translated to antisocial force, but that exact meaning has a different meaning in Japan than it would
specifically
here.
Relating to criminal-related behavior.
Exactly. Oh, shit. Jukebok here says Xi Jinping has entered the chat. Would you like some honey, sir?
Dude, how come you be wearing a shirt and no pants? It's ridiculous.
Does Bobby Kotick at least give good head?
Oh, God.
Does it feel good? I'd be very curious. He strikes me as a tender lover.
Jeez, man. Why do you got to say this stuff? And he's also probably not because of all the gold teeth.
All right. Moving on, David. Just go ahead and lead us on to the next topic here. As we go into this very, very legalese-filled show.
Yeah, I guess. All right, this is a dumb thing that we're going to make fun of, just so you guys
know. Yeah. But we also get why it happens.
A Diablo character sparks a trademark fight between Blizzard and Fox, as in Fox Media. Oh, man, I can't believe I have to read this. I hate lawyers. Diablo is the name of a character on a new animated series that's set to premiere this month on Fox television, setting up a showdown in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office between Blizzard Entertainment and Fox Media. The show in question is Housebroken, an animated sitcom about a therapy dog named Honey and her fellow neighborhood pets. One of those is a nervous and obsessive dog named Diablo, voiced by Arrested Development star Tony Hale.
Who was Tony Hale in Arrested Development, by the way?
He's the brother that joins the army, the hook hand.
Oh shit! I thought his name was something. I thought that was. Never mind. I thought it was someone else. Go on.
Cool. Fox has sought to register the name Diablo with the trademark office. They are trying to trademark Diablo.
Yes. Go on.
Fucking.
So here's the thing. Diablo, I'm pretty sure, is already trademarked.
Diablo is also like a word.
Yes. I get it. I'm not saying it's not dumb.
Anyway, okay, so presumably they're doing this to market show-related merchandise, including pet food, pet bowls, and or treat jars, whatever. They just want stuff branded with their Diablo, and they don't want people to make a knockoff version of their products. That's one thing. Blizzard's attorneys have obviously objected and seek to block Fox application, arguing in their filing that Fox's use of the term Diablo is likely to cause confusion or mistake or to deceive, and would thus be prohibited under federal trademark law. because people would immediately confuse the name of the talking cartoon dog on this animated children's show with the name of a long-running action RPG set in hell, made by Blizzard.
Okay, couple things. One, Diablo is not primarily set in hell. It's set in the world of Sanctuary. Sometimes set in heaven, sometimes set in hell. But not always set in hell. In fact, predominantly not set in hell.
With a bad guy named Diablo, who came out first.
Fair enough. We can mock this. We can make fun of it. This is stupid. But both you and I have covered these stories before, and we know exactly why stuff like this happens. It is because if you do not fight to protect your trademark, you lose your trademark.
And while I understand that part, I think that maybe you shouldn't be able to trademark shit that's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, the word Diablo itself is... Forgive me being an ignorant American, but isn't it literally just Spanish for devil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you're going off of Talladega Nights, in which case El Diablo is Spanish for like a fighting chicken.
El Polo Diablo. That sounds great.
Yeah, but that's...
So, yes, this is something that's going on. This will be settled out of court. I would say that I'm not even going to venture a guess who would win this thing, but the reason why lawsuits happen is because you have to vigorously protect your trademarks, etc., or else you lose them. This is why you have Bethesda suing Mojang over Scrolls. That's always the famous one that I go to, because that's the one where both sides more or less said, hey, listen, we don't want to do this, but we get it. So, stupid shit like this happens all the time. It will get worked out. Don't worry, Housebroken will have Diablo, either named Diablo or some other pet, and Diablo 4 will still be called Diablo 4, and Diablo Immortal will still be ass because it's a mobile game, but it'll sell Game Busters in fucking China. Free Hong
Kong. Quick aside to chat, Stealthy Twitchy asks, given the ongoing variety of chip-based supply chain constraints, when do you predict the next-gen consoles will generally be available across the retail channel? I want to bring this up because I feel like this is partially related to one of my New Year predictions that we did so long ago, because I had mentioned that I would not be able to buy a 30 series graphics card until NVIDIA announced a new line of GPUs, which tends to happen at the end of the year.
And keep in mind, for those of you who missed that show, your definition of buy isn't I spend hours on hours scrounging the internet for one. Your definition of buy is you get to walk into a store or log onto Amazon real quick and buy a normal retail cost price on the video card.
Correct. And so that prediction of mine is honestly how I feel about the next-gen consoles as well, because they have the same silicon-based shortcomings. Mm-hmm. So I honestly don't expect anything to be like walk into any store and buy it-able until Q4 this year. And even then, I think we'll start seeing things available in the beginning of November. Then the holiday rush will happen, and they'll all be gone again.
I think.
So I think you'll have about a week and a half in November to buy one.
I think, and I could be wrong on this, that both Sony and Nintendo have openly said we expect the semiconductor shortage to affect us on delivering consoles throughout the year. So they have already come out and said, I don't think Microsoft said anything on it yet, but the semiconductor shortage is not just it is affecting everything electronic. Cars, for example, a bunch of car stocks like Tesla, GE, Ford, they all had to lower their estimates this year because of the semiconductor shortage. Any kind of electronic, phones, TVs, cameras, thank you. It's all being affected by the semiconductor shortage right now. And that is going to be going on. Best guess, I think they said minimum 18 months.
Which is insane.
Yes.
But if true, means I'm totally going to nail my November prediction.
They're going to screw you on like the third week of December.
Closest without going over. That's the rule.
David, we got some random game announcements coming up. A couple of them are clearly obvious, but this one we're going to start off with just kind of out of nowhere. French developer Microdid announced today that it's making Flashback 2, the sequel to the 2013 remake from Vector Cell. By the way, Flashback, for those of you who don't know, Flashback was a old game. Came out like in the early 90s, and it played like the old style Prince of Persia. Not the Xbox PS2 Prince of Persia, but like the old PC Prince of Persia, or Out of This World, things like that. It was a 2D platforming adventure. I don't even want to use the term platformer because it makes you think Mario, but it was a 2D adventure game.
No, I know what you mean when you see like old school 2D platforming, because that makes me not think of Mario, but think of like Aladdin on Super Nintendo.
That's a good way of saying it, yeah. But it was very story-based as well. They remade this game in 2013. It didn't do as well, but for a while there, it was considered one of France's best-selling games for the longest time. Sold like 500,000 copies in the early 90s. So it had very impressive sales. I remember enjoying it back then. They did already make a sequel to this, though, on the PlayStation 1 called Fade to Black. So I don't know what this Flashback 2 is going to be. They might be just rebooting the entire sequel here to where it's just... They're going to pretend Fade to Black didn't happen, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because they really changed the way the game was in that. It went from a 2D adventure game to a 3D shooter.
Okay.
But the guy who was involved in the original game is doing this again. But I do give a caveat to this, however. Mycoids, they are a developer-publisher, and the most recent thing they did was the 13 remake. That heavily
that was
panned,
really bad,
terrible one.
Yeah, that was not a good remake.
And the guy who made Flashback, he created a company called Vector Cell that made the Flashback remake, which sucked. And and they also made a game called Amy, which is one of the lowest rated video games of all time.
So, just a huge pedigree of development here. Everyone get really excited. Look forward to Flashback 2.
Yeah. Jukebox Hero in chat says, Shadowrun Flashbacks shivers. So I'm of two minds of this. I don't know how old Jukebox Hero is. Is he talking about the 2007 Windows exclusive Shadowrun, where they took the beloved RPG and turned it into a first-person shooter in the lines of Counter-Strike? Or is he going back farther and talking about the Super Nintendo / Sega Genesis / PC ports of the Shadowrun RPGs?
I don't know about that. Are you just completely omitting Shadowrun Returns from like your entire brain right now?
No. That's where I was going to go next, but you cut me off, jackass. No, by the way, those Shadowrun Returns games...
you kept going backwards and you skipped one.
Because those Shadowrun Return games are excellent. No one would ever say anything bad about those. But you can say something bad about like the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo ones. You would be wrong, but at least I would hear that argument out. It sounds like Jukebox here is referring specifically to the first-person shooter Shadowrun, which I will go on record as saying it was not a good Shadowrun game, but I had a lot of fun with that Shadowrun game because it let me do things I was never able to do before in a PC first-person melee shooter, first-person arena shooter like that. Like I could teleport through walls. Gameplay? I thought the gameplay was excellent in it. I loved playing that Shadowrun game, but it was just a bad Shadowrun game because they took an RPG and turned it into a team shooter.
Oh, that's cool.
It was Overwatch before Overwatch was a thing.
It was just ahead of the time.
But I did like it. So yeah, Flashback 2 in development. I would not expect much from it, however, given the pedigree of the people working on it, even if it is being led by the man who made the original.
Yeah. In more news, are you done with Flashback?
I'm done with Flashback, yes.
All right. In a story from IGN, Activision's confirmed that Sledgehammer is going to develop the next Call of Duty 2021 with next-gen consoles in mind, surprising literally no one. Activision has confirmed that, of course, it is once again making a Call of Duty game for release this year, and has been reported Sledgehammer is back at the helm. Oh, that's interesting. One of the teams that makes Call of Duty is making the next Call of Duty. Crazy.
Minus like Glenn Schofield and the other guy whose name I can't remember. They went off to do their own thing.
Yep. The name of a company that makes Call of Duty is making a Call of Duty. How's that?
Yeah.
Does that work better?
It does.
Going back to the article, this was revealed during Activision Blizzard's Q1 earnings call, during which Activision said the game was both looking great and on track for release in the fall of this year, because they always are. It will include a campaign, multiplayer, and co-op play, and will integrate with and enhance existing Call of Duty ecosystems, which definitely means it's going to come into Warzone, much like the last game did.
Correct.
And critically, it's being built for a next generation experience.
That's the point I wanted to focus in on there, David, because as we all know, while it might be built for a next gen experience, if it is running on old consoles, it is not a PS5/Xbox Series X game. It is a PS4 Xbox One game that has been ported up to a next gen experience because you have to build these games for the lowest common denominator.
Correct. And we know this and can always refer to the fact that apparently CD Projekt Red did not know that going into making a video game. You have to start at the bottom.
I often wonder what Cyberpunk could have been if they just canceled the last gen stuff.
They should have.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm still waiting for Microsoft to do it for Halo.
Still,
if Halo comes out in December, or if Halo comes out next year and it's on both, come on, son.
Now I get it, especially when no one can buy a goddamn console anymore, but that doesn't prevent the PlayStation 5 from being the fastest selling console of all time. I think it's even outpaced the Wii at this point. Or not the Wii, the Switch? Whoever took one or the other.
It's really fast. It's selling really fast, which is crazy because I can't find one, and I only know like you with one.
Through sheer luck, I will remind you. I am still understanding of why they don't want to leave that money on the table. But that said, when they say built for a next generation experience, that does not mean it is going to be a truly next generation game, because I don't care how much time and effort you can put into it, unless you're making two completely different games, it is still going to be handicapped by the lowest common denominator. That's just how that works.
We will actually know when the consoles are common when we get the announcement that it will be a next gen exclusive game for the next Call of Duty.
We have four more stories I want to get through. While we're on the topic of Call of Duty, I want to mention this real quick, is that Crash Bandicoot Studio, Toys for Bob, is officially supporting Warzone development now amid layoff claims. This is from Video Game Chronicles. I will say two things. One, the layoff claims have been refuted by Activision itself. Activision came out and said, hey, there are no layoffs at Toys for Bob. One of the few times a company is openly honest about that, so I'm willing to believe what they're saying at this time, unless other things pop up. For the most part, if a rumor is true, a company just won't even say no comment. They just won't say anything about it.
Yep.
I don't say when a rumor is true, but when a rumor is absolutely false, they will come and say, hey, this isn't happening. So until something else comes up, I'm going to assume that there are no layoffs at Toys for Bob. To the article from Video Game Chronicle. The Novato, California-based developer, which made 2018's Spyro Reignited trilogy and 2020's Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, tweeted to say it's proud to support development for Season 3 on Call of Duty Warzone and look forward to more to come. David, what this essentially means is that, one, I have heard that there isn't a single studio that works for Activision Blizzard that is not working on Call of Duty in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I saw the list. There's like 13 studios, right? All working on Call of Duty.
Two, this also means, because Toys for Bob isn't really a big studio, don't expect another Spyro or Crash Bandicoot 4 anytime soon. Or another Spyro or another Crash Bandicoot 5 anytime soon.
Yeah.
My gut tells me that Toys for Bob is now going to become a Call of Duty support studio, because that is what Activision is focused on right now. 100% Call of Duty, and I don't, with the money on the table, to go back to that conversation, I don't blame them for it. Because Warzone has proven to be extremely successful for them. And to keep a game like that successful, they have to match the output of their biggest competitor, and that is Fortnite. And if they do not match...
I don't think they need 13 teams doing it. And I absolutely will blame a games company for not actually letting their teams make games anymore.
Fair enough. I get where you're coming from. But I understand why they're pulling so much talent and putting it on Warzone, because it prints money for them, and it needs to be as fast with the content updates as Fortnite is. That's just how that works. And
although I refuse to believe that Activision Blizzard, if all of these teams, I mean, I feel like Epic, I don't know how many people they have working on Fortnite. I really want to see the numbers now. I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'm super curious as well. But from what I understand, if you're part of Activision, but you're outside of Blizzard, you are working in some capacity on Call of Duty at this point.
That's crazy.
Now, there might be more Spyro. There might be more Crash Bandicoot 4. Or a more Crash Bandicoot. I just doubt it. One studio, however, that has gone off to do their own thing lately is IO Interactive.
Oh, yeah, man.
These are the guys that make Hitman.
These are the guys that are working on that Indiana Jones game.
No. James Bond. Indiana Jones is Machine Games.
My bad.
Also now a Microsoft studio, by the way.
I was just thinking of Sean Connery. I got close.
Fair enough. From Eurogamer, Hitman developer reportedly developing fantasy IP for Xbox. IO Interactive, developer of Hitman, has begun working on a new fantasy IP on Xbox which figures dragons.
Oh, perfect. Ooh. I love dragons.
Eurogamer sources have also heard the words of the new project at IO Interactive, which is being described as a AAA in scope, though very early in development and years away. It's currently planned to feature a large meter-less world and, yes, winged beasts of the dragon variety. Hey there, Marathon. How you doing, by the way? Good to have you. I think, David, this might be what that Barcelona team they just founded is working on.
That's possible.
That's my gut tells me that.
I'm actually really interested to see how flexible that Hitman engine is, though, because I'm assuming they're going to use that engine since they built it.
I don't know if it can handle big arenas that you'd naturally think you'd have to have if it's a Dragon game, because you figure there'd be flying in it, right?
Either that or you're fighting them, right?
And still, though, you'd have to... I'd be very curious to know what that engine can do. I don't know.
See, that's the thing. I'm curious to see if they're going to use their engine, and if we get to see them kind of flex with that. Like, hey, guess what? This thing does way more than you guys thought. Or if they're just going to do the common thing and, run Unreal Engine 4.
They might. But keep in mind, IRactDev is growing. We were talking about them recently, how it's cool that they're adding all these extra studios to their... I don't want to say studios. Teams to their roster, and they're all designed to work with each other rather than being competitive against each other. We used BioWare as the example. They're all meant to be AAA focused teams.
I'm just happy to see things coming out of IO.
Yeah, same here. It's not Freedom Fighters 2, but you know what? I really want to see their take on the Bond game, and I'm kind of curious about this Dragon game, because every time we get a Dragon game lately, it gets fucking canceled.
It's true. Dragons don't make it.
Delayed forever.
It's like they don't belong in this world.
No, they don't. One final story, David. I know I'm kind of hogging up the share here, but I get the feeling that we're going to be running late if I don't. GameStop is opening up a new U.S. East Coast fulfillment center. This is from GamesIndustry.biz. GameStop is opening up a new fulfillment center and to improve its ability to deliver online orders, the retailer announced today. The 700,000 square foot facility is located in York, Pennsylvania, and expected to be up and running by the fourth quarter of this year. The GameStop said the new fulfillment center will, quote, will position it to grow product offerings and expedite shipping across these, quote, end quote. David, note they're not opening up new brick and mortar stores. What they're doing here is essentially opening the equivalent of an Amazon warehouse, because that is the strategy that they're going in now. They want to be Amazon for video games.
Yes, and I'm assuming probably other tech products.
Probably other tech products as well. Consoles, maybe phones, maybe.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But a facility of this size has one purpose and one purpose alone: to hold a shit ton of products so that if you buy it, they have it in your hands within 2 hours.
Yep, that's the idea.
So that is the way GameStop is going. Expect that to continue to be the norm. Expect more store closures. The retail side of things is going to get gutted. They might keep a few open, like how Best Buy is open right now, where you just kind of go in and window shop and then place your order online and they ship it to you then.
Or you go to the store to pick up the order that you already placed online.
Or that. But yeah, a facility of this size is designed to do the whole you get it within 2 hours of opening kind of thing. The way Amazon, so like if you live next to a massive Amazon distribution facility, like the old house that I used to live in was right next to one of the biggest goddamn buildings I've ever seen that was for Amazon, because it was like right on one of the big supply chain highways in California. If I ordered from something from Amazon, I would have it within the hour.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So that is why this exists.
All right. Well, in other news, I guess our last story is Konami is now officially skipping E3. In a post on their Twitter, due to timing, we will not be ready to present at E3 this year. We want to reassure our fans that we are in deep development on a number of key projects, so please stay tuned for some updates in the coming months. Basically, they have nothing to show on the new PES, so they're not going.
You know what's funny is when we were talking about the E3 going digital this year, and Konami was one of the major developers / platforms going on, we were both like wondering what the hell are they doing on this list?
Yeah, what are they going to show off? What are they going to do there?
And I think the general consensus between you and I was it had to have been some kind of like new collection of stuff. Like here's this Castlevania, like the 2D platform Castlevania collection.
Here's another repackaging.
Or maybe a remake of something. Mm-hmm. It sounds like they don't even have that though, and they're just bowing out. Hey, Wilson's Corner. Yes, E3 still exists. It's going digital this year, like fully digital. They're going to be doing a 2 or 3 days bender, it seems, rather than spreading out over a couple months like they did with the summer. No, that's a separate thing. But it looks like it's going to be kind of them putting all their conferences over a couple of days just without a show floor. It seems to be anyways. We'll see how it actually shakes out when it happens mid-June. It's coming up.
Yeah.
It's real close. About a month and a half away. David?
Yeah, we'll have at least an hour of stuff to talk about when that happens.
At least. David, E3 is still 6 to 7 weeks away.
Forever.
Now,
it's infinite amount of time.
While it has lost its luster over the years, I'm still kind of curious to see what they do. But being starved for content that I am, because I am such a son of a bitch, I am not satisfied ever with whatever game I have right now. I need a constant influx of new releases to keep myself entertained. What can I consume?
Not to play them, obviously, just to have them in your library and look at them. To debate which ones I'm going to install.
Yeah, like Titanfall. Later. I could play Titanfall. Fuck that. I have it already. I'm going to buy something else. Because if I am anything, David, I am an American.
I thought you were going to say an idiot.
Hey, depending on who you ask, that's a synonym sometimes.
New releases for this week. We have The Colonists for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a very cute colony sims city builder kind of game where you're building a new home for your team of robots as they begin a new life for themselves on a distant planet where they can fulfill their ultimate dream to be human. So think very much the colony sim, right? You got a couple people at the start. You got to start building.
So is this like RimWorld or something like that?
Yeah, just I don't know. Think of Foundations, but with robots on an alien planet.
Okay.
Just any of those style games.
I don't know
more of a cute aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah. Just one of those things where you got a bunch of people, you click on them, you tell this guy to go gather the resources, this guy to start building a house, this guy to go fish or whatever. It's one of those kind of games.
All right. I'm looking at a trailer for it right now. I sense Pixar is real close to suing these people.
Right? It's very much got that kind of art style.
Yeah, it's very close to WALL-E, the way these robots look.
Also out this week, Skate City hits PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. This is a 2.5D skateboarding game. Skate the streets of real-world iconic destinations from around the globe. Master combos, flip tricks, manuals, grinds, set high scores in a challenge mode. There's also an endless skate mode. There's Skate Shop. You can customize yourself and your board. Visually, this looks like, remember, all the Trials games, like Trials Fusion and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So think of it like that. Your character is skateboarding to the right, and you're, jumping off things, doing tricks, all that other fun stuff.
So it sounds like an endless runner almost, but with a skateboard.
I mean, it's more like, I want to say the Fusion games where it's like a stage, right? You got to get to the end and you do what you can on the way.
All right, fair enough.
Except you're doing skateboard tricks with a much chiller vibe instead of all the mayhem and destruction that you get from those games.
All right.
No Guns Doppelganger Edition hits PlayStation, Switch, Xbox, and PC. This is a you're gonna hate this one. Roguevania.
Fuck. We have established that if you're just throwing in a whole bunch of genres in your description, you're trying to manipulate SOE, and I can't stand it anymore. It's so transparent at this point.
A Roguevania, as annoying as the nomenclature is of adding rogue to everything now, it's become worse than a Souls-like. The Vania means that there's permanent unlocks you get that allow you to explore new locations, much like Castlevania and Metroid, like the Metroidvania,
the Messenger, etc.
Yes. So
the second half of the Messenger, spoiling that game straight to hell.
Right. God damn,
Sorry.
Anyway, that's a good game. You guys should play it. But yeah, so think more Dead Cells,
Okay.
Where you slowly unlock like powers and abilities that will change your future runs than the actual roguelikes where you die, you start over, and you're starting completely from scratch.
Okay. That does make a little bit more sense then.
It also looks really cool because this game is like completely in black and white with occasional splashes of red for like when you kill enemies and for certain bosses and stuff.
I do like it when they give me a stylized game. I
Yes.
like having that. I like it when it breaks the norm.
And it's like 2-color black and white. Like there's no grayscale, like actual. It looks pretty cool.
Okay.
So yeah, take a look at least just aesthetically. I have to point out a correction from last week. Farm Manager 2021 actually comes out this week, not last week. If you tried to play it last week when I told you it was out and got mad at me, I'm sorry. But they pushed it back.
I assure you he will take his life in the most painful way possible.
Anyway, reminder, Farm Manager is not Farm Simulator. Fart Simulator. That's fine.
I'm sure that exists.
This is not the first-person one. This is a top-down strategy farm management game. Also, at this week, Resident Evil Village hits the PlayStations, the Xboxes, PC, and Stadia. It's the new one, dude. What do I have to say? It's Resident Evil 8. This game's probably going to be rad as hell.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Just replayed Resident Evil 7 again recently. Forgot how good that was. Still holds up today, despite being a couple years old at this point. I mean, that might sound like a jackass saying it still holds up.
7's good. 2's good. 3's good, despite being short. I think they're on a heater.
They are, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Yep.
That said, this is the first new Resident Evil, one that wasn't like a remake or something else that they've done in many a year at this point. 7 was the last brand new one, and that's old at this point.
3 years ago?
3 or 4 years ago, yeah, give or take. Yeah.
It's been a minute. Also out this week, Papertura for PC and Mac. This is a point-and-click adventure game, very stylized, atmospheric. The game is handcrafted entirely out of paper. Like, seriously, go watch a video of this game. They made, like, paper crafts and did stop-motion shit to animate this game. It looks incredible. Little creatures, Papa and Tura, will face monsters that will try and burn down their beloved paper world. But, yeah. Even if you're not interested in point-and-click adventure games, just look at this, man. This looks like a labor of love.
This falls in that category of like potential work of art level for what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, it looks incredible. Please look at Papertura, because I think that we should, try and reward creators of that nature.
I agree.
It's so cool. Last up this week, The Invisible Hand hits PC. This is a sim economy strategy game. Want to get rich quick? Welcome to Furios, where you'll be empowered to pursue wealth and success as a mid-level stockbroker. Your wildest dreams of wealth can come true at the cost of everything else.
Gordon Gekko Simulator.
I was going to say, this looks like the show Billions is a spoof video game.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a little trailer for this. It does not look like it's taking itself seriously at all.
Yes.
But that's kind of the idea. You're an unscrupulous stockbroker trying to make all kinds of money.
Yep. So think of any of the other silly kind of sim games, and you're probably on the right track.
David, that does it for new releases, which means that also does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 262, and thank you all for showing up. If you liked what you saw here for some god-unknown reason, you can support the show in any variety of ways. Of course, the easiest thing you can do is follow, turn notifications on, share the video if you're on YouTube, likes, bits, subs. You know the rigmarole. If you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, you know what streamers want. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at GamePoints PC. Myself, Stephen Brand at Capitalist Pig 21, and David there at Palshife_Satori. We'll be back once again Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints with more babbling commentary on news that's already been out for a couple of days. So be sure to tune in then. We thank you all for showing up. Jukebox Hero, Morathon, Stealthy Twitchy, Wilson's Corner, and to everyone else happen to be floating around in chat. Once again, thank you all for showing up. Until next time, y'all stay safe, take care. We're out of here.